This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Halifax stadium debate. Why some are questioning a proposed permanent structure on the Wanderers grounds. After the fire, a Glace Bay basketball club cleans up following a fire next door. And Gottingen Street Mural Festival. We get a look at the vibrant murals showcasing local and international artists.
It's weekend time and a great one shaping up for mid-July. Lots of sunshine in the mix, warm temperatures. All the details are coming up.
Good evening. Building a stadium in Halifax has been talked about for decades. The conversation is alive again as Halifax Council recently unveiled some options for the Wanderers grounds. Once again, the decision to build a stadium is raising many questions. The CBC's Richard Woodbury reports.
Since 2019, the Wanderers grounds has been home to a pop-up stadium where the Halifax Wanderers play. Looking past the immaculate grass, the temporary nature of the site is evident. Porta potties for bathrooms and temporary bleachers. The team and this setting attracts thousands to its games. The debate about whether the city should build a stadium is a complex one. It sparks passionate discussions about the use of public space and taxpayer money, what's an appropriate location, and economic benefits. The Wanderers president wonders why the stadium debate is so polarizing, especially given the presence of the nearby Scotiabank Centre.
I don't know why we have to fight so hard to convince people that an outdoor venue should be built when there's an indoor venue that consistently is invested in year over year over year over years.
Using the Wanderers grounds for sports by the public is something that dates back to the late 1800s. The grounds are part of the Halifax Common. Howard Epstein says he's not against a stadium in the city, he's just against one at the Wanderers grounds.
It's a cheat because it takes what should be open public land available for all comers without paying admission and privatizes it, which is not a very good idea. That's a cheat on the public and the sports playing amateur public.
Under modern design, stadiums are placed in cities so people can walk or take transit to games and take advantage of what the downtown has to offer. Sports economist Moshe Lander says despite this, stadiums don't really generate economic activity. They just move people's money around in the local economy. Lander says he isn't for or against stadiums. It all comes down to the reasoning.
If the city wants to put money into an arena or into a stadium, then just go to the public and say, listen, we're not going to promise economic benefits. They're just not there. But what we are going to promise is that this will help unite us, or this will give us a place that we can gather when we want to celebrate something or when we want to mourn something.
Martin says stadiums don't make money. He says their value is in drawing people to the downtown and supporting local businesses.
But at the end of the day, it's not an economic dollars and cents question. It's a what does the city and what do taxpayers really want their city to look like?
It's a line of thinking Kira Turner agrees with. She's a director with Privateers 1882, one of the Wanderers fan groups.
I think that is what really attracts people to this area and gets them out into the community and see more of what downtown Halifax has to offer.
No decision is imminent about a stadium. Regional Council will consider the plan at a future meeting and decide whether to ask for a staff report. Richard Woodbury, CBC News, Halifax.
Nova Scotia Public Health is investigating more cases of measles in Pictou County. There are now 3 confirmed cases and 1 probable case. All of them are in the same cluster connected to a case the province confirmed earlier this week. Public Health says cases have not spread outside this small group of people, so risk to the general public is currently low. The health authority announced yesterday they're holding measles vaccinations clinics in New Glasgow to help control the spread. A nonprofit group that lost its contract to operate 2 Halifax area shelters says it wasn't given a satisfying explanation. This week, the province abruptly dropped out of the cold as the operator of one of the supportive housing sites in Halifax and another in Dartmouth. Eric Johnson, the vice board chair of the nonprofit group, says Out of the Cold was addressing issues the province has raised about its policies, its documentation practices, and cooperation with the police and the justice system. He thinks the real issue is the group's tolerance for residents using drugs and alcohol.
I am speculating here, and I don't like to do that, but I also have nothing more concrete to go off of because it was all really sudden, and it was very much like, this is what's happening. We're not going to answer any questions. please get out.
Opportunities and Social Development Minister Scott Armstrong says the new operators will continue to use a harm reduction approach. He says there were persistent safety issues with Out of the Cold. A fire that burned down an abandoned school in Glace Bay on Thursday also damaged a neighboring gym. The space is owned by a local organization for kids that play basketball. But as Anna Rack reports, those who use the gym are relieved it survived.
The fire at the old Morrison High School burned for hours on Thursday. The damage was so severe, the building was torn down. But the gymnasium next door survived. It's owned by Push Basketball, a local training organization for kids playing basketball. The day of the fire, the group's director rushed over when he heard the news.
At first, it was really devastating because the news came in to me that it was the gym, and I got a picture of, so we quickly rushed over here and saw that it was this property, but it was still, a sad scene. It seemed like something out of a movie.
When coaches and players saw the billowing smoke, they thought the gym would be lost.
I was scared that the gym was going to be affected badly, and I'm just glad that it wasn't.
It was a devastating morning. That's the only way to put it. It was devastating till today.
I was honestly surprised, all the hard work that we put into this gym, and I thought it was all going to burn down, so it sucked.
Me as well. I thought it was going to be gone.
The gym didn't go unscathed from the fire. Smoke damaged heat pumps, and they lost power. The training sessions and games have been canceled as they try and get everything back in working order.
We're going to do what we always do, rise above everything and do it ourselves and volunteer, and the kids put their pride into it, and the kids will come out and do stuff, and so will the adults.
For the next while, Push Basketball volunteers will be helping clean up the gym so the kids can get back to doing what they do best, playing basketball. Anna Rack, CBC News, Glace Bay.
A long vacant former Halifax school in the city's north end is being demolished after years of safety complaints from neighbors and firefighters. Crews were seen tearing down the St. Patrick's Alexandra building earlier today. The Union for most Halifax career firefighters say they welcomed the demolition after consistently raising concerns about the danger that the site was unsecured. The building has been vacant since the Halifax Regional School Board closed it in 2011. All right, some gray, kind of yucky weather today, but the weekend.
We're all waiting for the weekend. And yes, Mother Nature is going to deliver a beautiful midsummer weekend and well-deserved. We all know the stretch we've been on with these weekends. Yeah, it's really looking nice. And getting the wet weather and the cooler temperatures out of the way. Most of us into the teens today did crack 20 in a few spots, but the temperature struggled with that wet weather. And then, yeah, the weekend is going to be the payoff. Now, we will see some drizzle in the morning for Cape Breton. That will clear as the clouds will clear. Fog in the morning for the mainland, and then that will clear. And we are also looking at an isolated chance for a shower in the southwest. Otherwise, Saturday looks great. Temperatures nice and toasty. The mugginess tolerable. And a similar story on Sunday. The mugginess just a little bit more in the mix, but not oppressive. And you can see those toasty temperatures indeed. Now, as we turn the page into next week, we are indeed going to be watching the temperatures building and the humidity rising. We'll talk about that with your full 7-day forecast in just a few.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to raise tariffs on Canadian imports to 35% as of August 1st. The threat is likely raising anxiety levels in many regions of the country. That includes here on the East Coast. The CBC's Brett Ruskin details what types of industries could feel the biggest hits.
Each year, Nova Scotia exports around $4.3 billion worth of goods and services from Nova Scotia to the United States. Accounts for around 2/3 of Nova Scotia's overall international exports, so a key part of the economy affecting the forestry sector, paper industry, the seafood sector as well, including the lobster fishery, which is a key part of Nova Scotia's economy. So if Nova Scotia lobster that gets sold down to the United States suddenly becomes 35% more expensive for those American buyers, they may opt to purchase their lobster from the state of Maine instead, that also collects and harvests and fishes for lobster. Now, another industry, in fact, the most lucrative export to the United States from Nova Scotia is actually rubber tires. There are 3 Michelin tire factories in Nova Scotia in 3 different towns, employs around 4,000 people directly, as well as the obvious indirect spin-offs to the economy and the different businesses and individuals in those towns that employment supports. So that is a take a look at Nova Scotia's vulnerability or Nova Scotia's exports to the United States that could be subject to tariffs. Prince Edward Island exports around $1.8 billion annually to the United States. New Brunswick exports around $15 billion, so substantially more there, specifically from the St. John area. That's because that city has an oil refinery and a busy port, so those vessels get loaded up with oil and petroleum products and then head down south of the border to deliver it and to sell it in the United States. In fact, St. John was listed as the most vulnerable city in Canada when it comes to vulnerability to increased tariffs, because around 90% of its local economy hinges on those exports to the United States. So officials there in St. John will be watching it closely. Officials in New Brunswick and across the Maritimes, and in fact across the country, will be watching closely to see what the impacts are should these 35% tariffs take effect. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
Drivers who park illegally at parking lots at Halifax's largest hospitals are now facing fines up to $500. The health department announced that the penalties will apply to those who violate parking rules at the Halifax Infirmary and Victoria General, as well as the IWK Health Centre. Health Minister Michelle Thompson says free on-site parking at health facilities is strictly for patients, visitors, and authorized staff. At peak demand times, the health authority says that Halifax hospitals are short about 4,000 spaces. Ridership numbers on the Cat Ferry between Nova Scotia and Maine continue to fall. Bay Ferries, which operates the service between Yarmouth and Bar Harbor, says there have been more than 24,000 bookings so far this season. That is a 19% drop over the same period as last year. The company says a significant drop in Canadian bookings is the major factor for the decline. It did not indicate whether U.S. bookings also had dropped. Some striking new works of public art will be unveiled as part of the Gottingen Street Festival in Halifax on Saturday. The event has partnered with the Halifax Mural Festival to help add color to the buildings in the community. Artists were busy adding finishing touches to their works today. Here is a sneak peek.
Public art really just brings a sense of place, a sense of happiness, a sense of safety, which is just all the feelings you want to have when you're in a community or you're shopping in a community. You want to be in a community that makes you feel happy, and I think the public art really helps bring those good feelings.
With all public art, I think the goal is just obviously like add a splash of color to the neighborhood, which in turn makes people feel a certain emotion. It can be happiness, sadness, and everything in between. So really just hoping that my piece evokes some sort of emotional response from the viewer, maybe asks them a question, and go from there. It's a legend of a ghost, so her name is the Grey Lady. She haunts the Halifax Citadel, which used to be like a prominent military barracks during World War II. And so she's depicted here waiting for her husband, who never comes back from the war, and she ends up haunting the Citadel, and soldiers have basically recollected stories of her, seeing her wearing a wedding veil and a wedding gown, smelling of roses and holding roses. So this is me reimagining that, sort of maybe giving her a little bit more life and imagining her in a new way.
So it changes the landscape, improving the diversity, improving the quality of living in the surrounding, making it more unique, putting some color into something that otherwise might not have it, and it certainly creates a greater level of soul and love in the area.
You know, when you walk through an alley that's covered in graffiti and profanity, you don't feel maybe safe. Maybe you're like, I want to get out of here. But now I guess it's more, it makes the area look more serene and calm and beautiful.
It's been nice meeting some local people, seeing their responses to the art, and everyone's been super positive. Yeah.
There's a look at some fishing boats down in Barrington. We've got Ryan up next with his full weather forecast. Do stay with us. We're back in just a few minutes.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, Ryan is back to talk weather, and boy, your timing is fantastic. Little drizzle on Friday, but then the weekend is just rolling out like you planned it.
Yeah, that's right. Some showers, some clouds today, even a couple of rumbles of thunder actually earlier in and across northern and eastern parts of the province. But yeah, the timing is once finally lining up for a nice weekend. And again, it may be a little bit of a sluggish start for Cape Breton, and that isolated chance for a shower tomorrow afternoon, as I said, in the west. We'll time all that out. First, let's have a look at our webcam video of tonight. Oh, look at the timing of this.
The horses walking by. Yep, very nice.
Perfect.
Yep, some strollers, folks strolling along the waterfront there, enjoying the view.
What an evening
Always a
for
pretty
it.
spot, huh?
Yeah, it's clearing out quite nicely in Lunenburg. Boy, we couldn't have timed that any better. Yes, a beautiful time for a stroll in downtown Lunenburg. And if you want to kind of beat some of that hotter heat that we're going to be experiencing this weekend. It does look like kind of an onshore flow both days along the Atlantic coastline will keep temps a little bit more comfortable there. So we'll break that down as well. First, our temperatures out there, as you can see, it is obviously it's been a day where most of us have been in the teens. The dew point has been comfortable, and it will remain relatively comfortable for this weekend. So really not too much to talk about in terms of the humidex. There's that cluster of showers and some rumbles of thunder that were detected earlier over eastern parts of the mainland and into Cape Breton. Those are moving out here pretty quickly. And as we back things out, there's the low that's moving out. We've got this trough that's rolling through the Great Lakes up towards Hudson Bay, and it's the warm, muggy stuff that's moving up ahead of that system. That's what we're going to be tapping into, especially into next week. You can see where the heat is really building here in through the east. 31 in Toronto right now, 25 in Alberta, 24 in Vancouver. And as we look at our forecast temperatures for tonight, we're going to be talking about temps anywhere from around 10 to 15 degrees across the mainland. Most of us in that 10 to 13 or 14 range. Cape Breton, 13 to 15. That chance for a shower, rumble of thunder ending pretty quickly here over the next couple of hours. Now, we will see the fog patches setting up tonight. It's a northerly flow in behind, and so for Saturday morning, in that northerly flow, north to northeasterly flow, a little bit of some drizzle in through Cape Breton, and the clouds stubborn here for you folks throughout the morning. Across the mainland, it's a stubborn start with fog patches and the clouds that will be a mix of sun and cloud. Into the afternoon, as this drier air sinks in, we are going to be looking at things turning mainly sunny across Cape Breton, and it's going to be a beautiful afternoon across the mainland. There is just the slightest risk of a shower from Keji here down in the southwest to say New Ross, and then down to Lunenburg County and into Queens County, and perhaps Shelburne County. That's going to be the corner of the province where we could see a little bit of isolated activity in terms of a pop-up shower or even a very slight risk for a thunderstorm, but it does look isolated. There are the temperatures for Cape Breton tomorrow, 21 to 25. And as we look back across the mainland, it's mid-20s as we sail through central areas. Again, with a little bit of humidity in the mix, it'll feel probably closer to 30 here, 31, maybe 32, where we're up towards the 26-degree temperatures. But it's really not looking too oppressive at all, which is great. There's that sea breeze that's going to be along the Atlantic coastline. Lunenburg should be pretty comfy, right around 20 to 22 degrees. Now, as we look at Sunday, this is the warm front that's coming in. Some cloud with that will mix out into the afternoon, and so Sunday should pop quite nicely, but we're turning the thermostat up here. High 20s in through the north, mid 20s along the coast, or at least closer to the coast, and right along the coast will likely still be in and around the 18 to 20 range. Monday, we've got this frontal boundary approaching. That will help the warmer and muggier air surge in even more. And so you'll notice with the muggy meter really starts to tick up through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in that truly tropical range. And so that's when it will really start to feel quite oppressive indeed. And with that, that's when we'll start to add in the shower chances and the risk for thunderstorms, right? You get that daytime heat and humidity cooking. That's when we're going to be looking at things turning a little more active. It looks like the front will slide through on Friday, Amy, but yeah, lots of nice weather before we get there.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Indigenous-led ceremonies started from 2 different points on PEI this week to kick off the island's first Walk to Heal Our Waters. The group involved are walking more than 100 kilometers combined over a couple of days, carrying water on a spiritual journey. The CBC's Jane Robertson was there at the start to learn more.
So we are at the North Rustico Beach in Prince Edward Island, and we are preparing to do a water walk across the island.
A water walker is somebody who has taken up the initiative to honor our responsibility to the spirit of the water and to bring ecological awareness to the impacts that we've been having on the water, as well as to bring awareness to the fact that we still have many Indigenous communities that are without clean drinking water.
So we have a copper container, and we're going to retrieve water from the beach here, and we'll be carrying it in the container and walking across the island. Once that happens, the water cannot stop moving, so we have to continue to walk the route until we get to our meeting point in the middle where our other group from the AWA will actually be.
Because we live on an island and we're surrounded by water, the decision was made by the committee that we're going to walk from 2 different parts of the island with the water for 3 days, and we'll pick it up from here in North Rustico. It'll also be picked up in Tignish.
That is the AWA, which is the Aboriginal Women's Association, as well as Lennox Island. So they are going to be doing the west side of the island.
So we'll be walking about 78 kilometers from this end, and I believe it's about 90 from the other end in order to meet in that middle point. So we're going to try and stick as close to the water as we possibly can. So we'll be following any roadways that are as close to this side of the water.
It's an Indigenous ceremony. It was actually started by a lady named Grandmother Josephine.
You're starting to buy water now. It'll be more so in 5-10 years from now. That's why we're trying to raise awareness about the water so people can know how to protect the water in their own areas.
She's from Ontario. She has now passed, but she started it with the intention of healing our waters.
Anybody is welcome to come walk with us for 5 minutes, for a kilometer, for the whole thing. It doesn't matter, because it's about all of us working together to improve the situation for the water, and in doing so for all of creation.
Because water is life, and as we all know, we're seeing things in the environment that are impacting us, and as Indigenous people, and especially as women, water is our responsibility.
Coming up, part 2 of Barbershop Talks, where Black men meet in an effort to disrupt domestic violence. We have more tonight on community efforts to disrupt intimate partner violence in Nova Scotia, which has been declared an epidemic in the province. A group of Black and African Nova Scotian men meet in an effort to support healthy relationships and healthy communities. They participated in a series of barbershop talks on violence prevention, and some tough topics were tackled. Tonight, the CBC's Elizabeth Chu has part 2 of her series, and a warning now, the content in this story may be triggering for some viewers.
On a late February evening, a group of men are gathered at a barbershop, but not just for haircuts. They're sharing a meal, soul food, and soon they'll be sharing food for thought. Some of these guys are related, some are acquaintances, some are complete strangers. But by breaking bread together, they're breaking barriers into tough conversation.
What is your understanding of domestic violence? What is it?
Mario Roll starts things off.
Growing up as a young Black boy, I would, I do something wrong, I get beaten, I start crying. The first thing my mom gonna say is, shut up before I give you something to cry, right? And so a lot of time for me, I only can speak for myself, I mask my emotions.
Roll is a therapist.
Anyone else?
He says discussions around intimate partner violence to now have been missing important voices, the voices of men.
We wanted to do something different, and we wanted to help community. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to provide a holistic counseling, right? So the barbershop is, in hindsight, it's a group counseling session for men.
In this session, they're describing how everyday stress, combined with the reality of their experiences as Black men, builds pressure. And then they go home.
A young fella can go through a lot, but sometimes we like to hide like I said earlier, I like to hide my emotions sometimes, right? But it all comes up and bursts later, right? So you gotta talk as much as you can and try to anyway, even though it's hard, right?
Because you're not free to speak at work. Exactly. So you take it driving home, your partner asks you a question, you're still loaded with that emotion from work. You don't even have time to decompress. You just, lash out on her.
Can a male be a victim? Are males victims of domestic violence?
I do think men are victims in domestic violence. The problem is a lot of men feel like they shouldn't have to report if they're being victimized or abused, whether it's financially, verbally, physically. They feel like it's a sign of weakness, and that goes back to the topic earlier, masculinity,
Masculinity is a big topic. These men are eager to share ideas on shaping a healthy masculinity.
You're not masculine because you're looking for help and being vulnerable. But we have to get over that mindset, and it's actually a strength to ask for help.
Because life is so short. And when you don't stop to reflect and say, okay, that was one thing, move on, you can mess yourself up so quick because you in traffic, you just left work, now you honk at this person, now they want to fight you. You ain't even trying to fight or whatever, right? Like I seen a video one time.
They're trying to counter the stereotypes of being unfeeling, uncaring, criminals, stereotypes that play out in social media.
But to you and to whatever audience you have, oh, he's a punk, he's a this and that. So now, I feel like I have to prove myself to people I don't even friggin' know, bro. You understand what I'm saying? I gotta fight you for what? Now you're calling me out, so I feel like, to be a man, I gotta go out and fight. And now it's ain't gonna be a fight, 'cause nowadays they're gonna just shoot ya. You understand what I'm saying? So we gotta learn to be like, swallow your pride, man. Swallow your pride, because mental health is that pride word. Like mental health got so much stuff around it, man, and definitely within our culture, and we don't know how to swallow our pride. And we all been there. Be like, I can't get punked off in front of all these guys. Kevin, what are you doing?
He calls you out, right? He calls you out on something. You get mad. You don't fight him. You know what's going to happen? You're going to transfer that energy when you go home. right? As soon as you go home, your wife or your partner trying to make you feel good. Hey, how you doing? Don't say nothing to me. And all of a sudden, it's an argument. And all she's trying to do is see how you doing.
The hope here is to create bonds, so when they part, they'll still be there for each other in good times and bad.
We truly have to start being my brother's keeper. Let's not, we have spent so much time ridiculing each other, breaking each other down. We've talked about how we already know what society thinks of us, but here's my challenge and my question is this. We know what society thinks of us. We know what society wants us to be. But my question to you is this. What do you think of me? Do you have my back?
Yeah.
Do I have your back?
New perspectives to share with the next generation.
Most of us have children, right? If we don't get it now, then it's going to be passed down to our children. The question that I have is, what are we doing to stop that?
The evening ends with men looking good and feeling good.
And that's a wrap.
The microphone is passed around.
Honestly, it's good every time I come here, and it's always around something that's for the betterment of us. So it's like therapy to me when I come out here, because it's like, I don't know, it's like sometimes when you hear your thoughts coming from someone else's mouth, it's a different type of thing, and you take it a different type of way. Instead of beating yourself up about stuff, you learn how to deal with stuff. And sometimes it makes me realize how much that I do have to offer, even in these spaces.
Just want to respect that everyone got a spot to talk to, everyone got a spot to, feel good about themselves, and I feel good about myself every time I leave this place, so.
I appreciate each and every one of you for coming out week after week. I know, I just appreciate your commitment, right? And being a better version of yourself and breaking down stereotypes of who we are and what society thinks of us. And then also taking this information and having that ripple effect on the people around us is helping us be better every day. So I appreciate you all. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Dressed
like an interviewer,
Elizabeth Chu, CBC News, Halifax.
Coming live at 6.
Coming up, another day, another set of tariffs from the U.S. president. Donald Trump's latest tariff threat against Canada has sent trade into a fresh state of uncertainty. And it wasn't fast enough for you to notice, but the Earth's rotation sped up this week. We'll tell you why and what that means after the break. And welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney says he'll meet with his cabinet Tuesday to discuss ongoing trade negotiations with the U.S. It comes after Donald Trump announced he's going to impose 35% tariffs on some goods imported from Canada starting August 1st. Evan Dyer has reaction from Ottawa.
I think it was fairly well received, but it's what we need.
Of course, Trump's letter was not welcome to the Canadian government, which had been aiming to reach a grand bargain on trade with the Trump administration by July 21st, 2 weeks from now.
The Americans were probably looking for Canada to put more things on the table to trade with, and we're probably getting frustrated as the deadline came up.
The government of Canada responded to the latest attack with defiance.
We're trying to make sure that ultimately, while the U.S. is becoming weaker, we will become stronger, and we will diversify and turn ourselves towards Europe.
Traveling in Asia, the U.S. Secretary of State said Trump intends to give every country a baseline tariff for trade with the U.S.
As the president's made clear, there are opportunities for adjustments based on arrangements that could be made between now and then.
And so they're probably going to be asking Canada for a baseline tariff.
The U.S. appears unlikely to agree to zero tariff trade with Canada, says this trade lawyer.
If Canada wants to hold out to say we'll never agree to any baseline tariff, I just don't think that's going to work. So I try to figure out some number, less than 10 and greater than 0.
But while the new tariffs are unwelcome, they've lost some of their shock and awe effect.
Every time things might not be very strong for the United States at the table, President Trump takes to either Truth Social or in this case adds a letter talking about tariff escalations.
One former Trump White House trade official says Canada should actually be glad to get such a letter.
I actually took it as more of a positive sign that the president specifically sent a letter to Canada, meaning he's focused on that negotiation and he wants to bring it to a head. I do think that we are likely to see a deal before August 1st. I am hopeful.
The dollar effect of these latest tariffs, if they go ahead, isn't fully clear. If they exempt goods that are compliant with the current CUSMA trade deal, the effect could be fairly limited. But as is so often the case, no one knows exactly what the White House is planning, and that seems to include the White House itself. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
And Donald Trump's latest tariff threat is already shrinking, with administration officials saying it would only apply to some goods. As Chris Glover reports from Washington, even the president is lowering the tone.
The most interesting reaction from the United States today is coming directly from the president, now being forced to defend his latest threat against Canada, that the states will impose a 35% tariff on goods imported from Canada starting August 1st. A White House official confirming to us that free trade compliant goods would be exempt and energy and potash would remain at 10%. Now, this is the latest threat from Trump. A bit of a surprise, really, especially since trade negotiations had just recently ramped back up. Things had been pretty quiet, and some thought that that was a promising sign, especially since the turmoil last month when Trump terminated trade talks with Canada, calling Ottawa's proposed digital services tax an attack on U.S. tech companies. Ultimately, Carney rescinded the tax at the last minute, and the talks resumed with a deadline of July 21st. Well, that was all upended last night with that explosive letter from Trump to Carney. And today on the White House lawn, Trump continued to argue that the U.S. had been taken advantage of for years, oftentimes, he said, by allies like Canada. Trump also said that he thought it would all work out, but didn't really expand much further. A White House official also underscoring how unfinished all of this is, confirming no final decision by the president had been made, while a Canadian official told CBC News that representatives from both sides had met as recently as yesterday afternoon, just hours before Trump's letter. So now the trade negotiations will continue, albeit with that new deadline of August 1st. Chris Glover, CBC News, Washington.
Canada's unemployment rate fell slightly in June to 6.9% from 7% in May. The economy added about 83,000 jobs, the first net increase since January, but most of those jobs are part-time. The biggest jump in employment was in wholesale and retail trade, while the agriculture sector faced notable losses. Unemployment for young people returning to school in the fall remained high at 17.4%. U.S. President Donald Trump took time out from his trade war to tour the flood zone in Texas. Trump and his wife came to Texas for a first-hand look at the damage from a week ago. The flooding killed at least 120 people, with up to 170 people still missing. The first couple and the state governor met with first responders at the scene. They also visited the operations center and met with families of victims. People in the flood zone voted overwhelmingly for Trump, and in spite of the catastrophe, the Trump administration is not backing away from a pledge to shutter the federal agency responsible for disaster management and return responsibility to the states. British Columbia has released new recommendations to ensure public safety of outdoor events. They come in the wake of the horrific attack at a Filipino festival in Vancouver earlier this year. Jessica Chung has the plan and the reaction.
A memorial commemorating one of BC's worst tragedies more than 2 months after a car rammed into a crowd at Vancouver's Lapu-Lapu Day Festival. 11 people were killed, dozens more injured. Now, a report aimed at preventing a similar tragedy.
This is a strong foundation for what's to come.
It makes 6 recommendations, including risk assessments for all public events, a province-wide hub for event safety planning and training, and expanded grants to help with event-related safety and security costs.
And we accept the intent of the recommendations. And we're working through them to determine how best we can implement them with our partners.
Vancouver holds more than 2,000 public events every year, most without issue, according to the province.
These 6 crucial points for entrance the festival.
The Chinatown Festival is expecting to welcome thousands of people this weekend. The event organizer says she welcomes the new recommendations, but paying more for security may mean cuts elsewhere.
We need to, spend more to make sure that we will providing the best scenario and the best possible safety environment for our visitor.
The team behind the report consulted a number of players, including police and municipalities. But Filipino BC, which organized Lapu-Lapu Day, says they weren't among them. And Vancouver's mayor also says the city wasn't consulted in a meaningful way.
It would have been great if the time and effort that was spent on this report was spent on the root cause, which is mental health.
The mental state of the accused in the Lapu-Lapu Day tragedy will be the subject of a hearing this month. 30-year-old Adam Kaiji Lo is facing 8 counts of murder. In spite of that horrific day, festival organizers are determined to bring people together this summer. Jessica Chung, CBC News, Vancouver.
We don't always think about the giant ball called Earth spinning in space, so you may not notice that on July 9th, it rotated very slightly faster than usual. Scientists say that's not unusual and it's not enough to throw you out of bed, but it may eventually add up for us to tweak our clocks. Brittany Enriquez explains.
Do you ever feel like time is moving too quickly? Scientists found it's not just a feeling. Some days this summer are going to feel shorter. That's because the Earth is spinning a little bit faster than usual on July 9th, July 22nd, and August 5th. But scientists say don't be alarmed. It's just a matter of milliseconds. So why is this happening? Well, first, we need to understand that a day corresponds to one complete rotation of the Earth on itself and lasts around 24 hours.
In this instance, sort of on a every few months or a year sort of scale, it can shift either a little bit slower or a little bit faster. It has to do with how sort of mass around Earth is distributed.
Natural phenomena like earthquakes, tides, and underground geology can cause micro changes in time.
In this case, I think they said it's about 1.3 milliseconds faster. Let's just go to 1 millisecond, just to make it like a little bit easier. That's 1,000th of a second. How quick is that? A blink of an eye is about 100 milliseconds. You could fit 100 moments into one eye blink. You would not notice this difference at all.
Okay, so why is this a big deal? And is it really? Well, experts say it's a mix of both.
1,000th of a second, you're not going to be able to notice it. But with the GPS satellites, they rely on timing very precise. And so this would have an effect on that.
Historically, Earth's rotation has been slowing down. Some scientists suggest it may lead to the subtraction of a leap second by 2029, a change never done before. But experts say this isn't anything to worry about, just an impressive fact about space and time.
I think gaining an appreciation for the day-to-day sort of systems that you live and depend on, and realizing that like these changes in the Earth, you're not going to notice that in your day-to-day life, but it does have effects in the things that you use.
You won't be able to physically see the shift in time. It happens way too quickly. But enthusiasts say if you want to enjoy a bit of space, look at what the eye can actually see, like the International Space Station that will be visible in the next few weeks. Brittany Enriquez, CBC News, Montreal.
Canada's main stock index finished lower today, while U.S. markets were also down. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to break.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
Well, guess who's going on vacation next week? Someone's got the inside scoop.
Yeah.
And Tom, you gave him the idea.
And Tom, yeah. Sorry, Amy.
I'm fine.
Yeah, listen, when you got to put the annual leave in request in March, it's you're swinging for the fences, obviously, but hoping for the best.
It's paid off.
It's working out this time. So let's have a look at our viewer picture of the day as we zoom in on St. Margaret's Bay, and this was the buck moon, full moon, and Peter
nice.
LeBlanc. I love the sailboat in the foreground of this picture.
That is great. Very artistic.
Beautiful silhouette, yeah, and the clouds in the sky just making things pop there. Peter, fantastic picture. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. So as we look at the forecast for Saturday, head to St. Margaret's Bay looks great. Maybe a light sea breeze there, keeping temperatures towards the lower 20s. And if you are heading to the beach tomorrow, all along the Atlantic coastline, temperatures will fluctuate depending on your proximity to the water, but most of us will be likely in and around the 20-degree mark as those sea breezes are going to be nice and light. Sunday, again, sea breeze set up for the Atlantic coastline. You can see the warmest temperatures towards the north. Be a great day to hit one of those North Shore beaches. Now, even in Cape Breton, it's going to be a fantastic day. On Sunday, again, a bit of drizzle for Saturday morning in Cape Breton as we will be watching things slowly kind of clear out there. There's the cloud moving out. There are those little bit of showers popping up in the southwest of the province Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. That is the only chance of precip really other than the drizzle in Cape Breton on Saturday morning. And just a really nice 3 days and warm next week and muggy as well.
All right, looks great. Well, she has been an internet sensation since she was born. Her temper and clumsy antics have inspired memes, art, even songs. Now, the global superstar has celebrated her first birthday. Yesterday, crowds of adoring fans showed up for Moo Dang's birthday party organized by her zookeepers in Thailand. The world-famous baby pygmy hippo can be seen here snacking on a massive fruit platter. She and her mom shared her 20-kilo birthday feast made up of carved tropical fruits.
The name Moo Dang in Thai means bouncing pig. Several of her possessions, including a plastic tub, were auctioned during the festivities. All proceeds are expected to go toward a wildlife conservation fund.
Well, very happy birthday to her.
Yes.
And that is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care.